Welcome to today's Christian music broadcast with Tyler Garth.
Well, it seems that we've been having some difficulty, but I believe we have James with us on the line here from sunny Florida. Are you with us, James?
Yeah, can you hear me, Tyler?
I can. I'm very sorry about the technical difficulties, which are all completely my fault, hitting the buttons and so forth. But so thankful to have you with us. James Burkhardt is the CEO of SNT Communications, an internet-based media and marketing firm that operates multiple streaming audio and video websites, including sntradio.com and nowsoundworship.com, which we're going to be talking about in this program. Digital media like ebooks, magazines and songs, music production, publishing and marketing, and Protostar Digital Designs, a full-service internet marketing agency. And he's located down in Naples, Florida. No snow drifts down there right now, I don't think. We certainly have them here. But he's also known as a successful internet marketer, broadcaster, mastering engineer, and his expertise is customizing effective marketing solutions so that Fortune 500 companies, faith-based organizations, and performing artists can harness the full power of the internet. Innovation, integrity, and original thinking distinguish his influence and renown as a trailblazer. And guiding others to realize their maximum potential in the digital world is both his greatest gift and reward. And hopefully I didn't let too much out of the bag at the start, but I just wanted people to get an idea of what it is you do. So, James, thankful to have you with us. Why don't you start out by telling us, were you raised in church? How did you come to know Christ?
Well, Tyler, thanks for having me on. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. And I got saved at kind of a young age at a Southern Baptist church in Elmhurst, Illinois, when I was just a young boy, probably 9 years old. My piano teacher at the time was the church organist and pianist upon occasion at that church, and a couple of Chicago White Sox ball players attended. So being a baseball fan, I thought, gee, it would be real fun to get up and go to church one day. My parents had stopped attending the United Methodist Church that they were going to, and I missed church. I don't know why. At the time, it had a lot to do with Christmas, and this being Christmas time, I love singing Christmas carols.
It has to be someone was praying, I think, along the way somewhere.
It could be. Could very well be. Yeah. But I got up one morning, one late spring, early summer morning, and a 9-year-old kid showing up at a Baptist church is going to create a stir. And I knew to ask for my piano teacher, but, my parents were called. They knew where I was, and I heard the gospel for the very first time, even though I had a sense of the presence of God because of Christmas time and just singing Christmas carols and, singing the, Hark the Herald Angels Sing and the traditional Christian carols, in hymns, not just, I was never that impressed with, Santa Claus is coming to town or Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but, Hark the Herald Angels Sing and Silent Night and Oh Holy Night and, songs like that.
They each preach a message. That's why I enjoy those. The others are fun, but I enjoy the carols more than any because they tell the true story of Christmas. So that drew your heart. And so you heard the gospel message and responded that day?
Well, I think it took another week, but the seed was definitely planted that day between what I heard in Sunday school and then sitting through the church service that day. It was really the first time I'd ever heard the gospel. But
Well, I
I
think it
Jesus
must have been
was.
your piano teacher praying for you.
It could very well be. Could very well be. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. So what got you from there to getting involved with Christian media, Christian radio, music, what have you? What was that path for you?
Well, the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan in 1964, February of 64. And just prior to that, I was singing in church choirs and school choirs, and I could sing, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, look at that. That looks like a lot of fun. I think I'd like to learn to do that.
Okay.
So in about 1965, I actually tried to start playing guitar earlier, but my parents were dead set against me learning music. Sad to say, but because my dad quit playing the clarinet when he was a young man, he thought I would quit playing piano. So even though I was a couple of books ahead of everyone in my grade level, they thought, well, he's not going to stick with it. So we're not going to buy a piano and not going to invest in it. And I was like heartbroken. But when the Beatles came on, I looked at that and went, ooh, I would love to do that. And so I
they let you get a guitar?
Writing. Yeah, I started riding my bike to music stores in places like Sears and other department stores that had, cheap, inexpensive guitars that you could play, and just tried to pick something out. And then had a couple of friends who were playing guitar, so I'd go bug them. And then finally, in 1965, I actually, an aunt felt very sorry for me, and in Christmas of 65, I got my first guitar, which had like 3 metal strings and 3 plastic strings, and went from there, traded up. So I, all through elementary school pretty much, since the 3rd grade and junior high, I got a little bit better. I was mostly self-taught. Formed my first band in 8th grade, and we actually played I played my first gig when I was 14 years old for the grand opening of a record store outdoors on the sidewalk in front of the record store.
Okay.
And it was a cold October day.
What the church think of you going after the popular music of the day?
They didn't like it. The youth pastor told me to my face, you can't be a Christian and play rock and roll. But we were doing interesting things like changing Beatles lyrics to Christian lyrics and other popular songs of the day. We'd Christianize them, and then it was kind of devastating. Kind of turned me off to the church for a while until later on in high school, when the Jesus movement started. Explo 72 happened the summer after I graduated high school, but I was aware of Larry Norman and Love Song and Randy Matthews and and some of the Christian music ended up on the radio, secular. There was a nun called the Singing Nun that did a song called Dominica that was kind of Christian, and there was the Lord's Prayer, by a couple of artists, and Peter, Paul, and Mary did, Jesus Met the Woman at the Well. So there was some, tracking of gospel music. I grew up in Chicago, so I used to be able to watch and listen to Mahalia Jackson sing a weekly TV show. And that was, some of the early black gospel artists.
Okay. So you ended up out in continued in Illinois there, but you ended up going to school for marketing and sales and communication. You got your bachelor's of science degree. Was there any thought at that time of using that in the realm of Christian media? Didn't you end up at I think at a radio station for some time, or how'd that fall together?
Well, the path was, in college I was performing. I got heavily involved in Campus Crusades and did a bunch of concerts with another guy. We were like a Christian version of Simon and Garfunkel by that point in time. And we're doing Larry Norman songs and, popular Christian choruses of the day, like "They'll Know We're Christians by Our Love," and that kind of stuff. It was the height of the Jesus movement, and I had the idea to go to Dr. Ken Taylor at Tyndale House Publishers, the publishers of the Living Bible, and ask him for 10,000 Bibles and New Testaments to distribute on campus through a Campus Crusade outreach we were doing. And believe it or not, he said yes. But there was one caveat. I had to work with their marketing research department for a couple of years and track the Bible reading habits of the majority of the people who were given Bibles. And being a marketing student and all that stuff, that was a lot of fun, but a lot of work. And that got me involved in the operations at Tyndale House and familiar with them, and they with me. So when I came to graduate, I was being pursued by some major advertising agencies in downtown Chicago, and had some opportunities and interviewed a couple of places, but really felt like the Lord wanted me to go to work for Tyndale House. So they hired me as a bookstore manager and gave me a store that they had opened a year and a half prior, and was failing, and said, "Here, make it work.
See what you can do with this."
So
right.
We got into a sink or swim situation, and I haven't looked back since. Well,
it sounds like there's some others in the industry the last few years who perhaps could use your expertise, as we've had some major, at least one major chain fold, which is I'm so sorry to see that happen. But anyway, so I want to be able to fast forward us somehow up to 2015. So you're going to have to tell me what happened in between, but because at that point you ended up getting the world had changed, and you ended up with a master's degree in internet marketing and so forth, and you can tell us more about that. But what we've shared so far, there was no such thing as internet, and what happened between there, and how did you saw the changes coming? Apparently, you saw the writing on the wall, wanted to stay in the mix, I guess, and you're now at the cutting edge. And so, bring us up to that, because I'd like to play the song you gave us. We don't have to take time for that, because I really want to cover what you're doing right now. But go ahead and bring us up to speed.
Well, okay. The Reader's Digest version is. I did a lot of marketing and advertising with Tyndale Bookshops. That led to working with Christian radio. I was offered a job at KBRT in Los Angeles in 1980, which was the first big market, all commercial Christian music station ever. And helped pioneer that. That led to a job back in Chicago as a general manager of a radio station where I was up against WMBI, Moody Bible Institute's flagship station. So we did something completely different. We took contemporary Christian music and infused it with praise music and came out with a format called The Joyful Sound of Praise, and that took off like a rocket. Bob Hay was around when, and Heartland Records was very much aware of what I was doing when that took off. And then that led to some executive positions in Christian radio, and in 1987, I walked away from the Christian music industry entirely and started my own company. And as a result of being what we call ourselves serial entrepreneurs, we've started several businesses, and I've worked with every major Christian organization in the United States, I think, except for CBN, only because they wanted to hire me. They didn't want to hire me as a hired gun, as they wanted me. But, practically everybody else. And as the course of following Christian communications and staying close to the church and what parachurch ministries are doing, I saw the power of the internet in the late 90s and early 2000s, and loved Christian music. So I went to Berklee College of Music for a while and picked up some skills as a producer and an engineer, and learned all about the music business. And then interned in Florida with a mastering engineer, and got a master's degree in internet marketing, and here we are today after starting S&T Radio about 10 years ago.
And I want the people to know that are listening, he's left a lot out. There's a lot in there that you could talk. We could probably talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours at least, just covering the basics of what you've been blessed to be a part of. I think when I first spoke with you, you were involved with some recording studio work, and told me of some of the passions of the dreams you had on your heart that you'd like to see come about. But I think what we'll do is you tell us about this song we're about to play and what part you had to play with it, whether it was writing it or being a part of it in some way, or engineering the recording of it. And then I want you to tell us afterward, you can tell us what is going on with the new venture here, the new Sound Worship and S&T Communications. And so how did I Am Complete come about?
Yeah, my passion is working with indie Christian music artists, and Daryl Boyer and I had been talking for about a year and a half, and finally agreed on a song and a plan to get it produced and aired and distributed. So we got together in the studio for a couple of days in early June of this year, and it's just an example of production sensibilities, and it's got kind of a fresh sound to it, what we call now sound, for the now sound worship. And go ahead and play I Am Complete. It's part of my passion.
All right.
Lord, you call me out by name. Say I'm more than just a face lost in the crowd. You chose to call me son. The price you paid for me declares my worth and your great love. Lord, you rescued me. You brought me back, delivered me. Now I've been redeemed. You made me clean, set me free.
All right. And James, who was that you worked with that song? You worked with to produce that song?
Yeah, that was Daryl Boyer was the male voice, and
okay. All right.
Trista Thomas, who's a good friend and who was drummer with me in the S&T band when we were out playing, was doing the backup vocals there for him. So
wonderful.
Great job.
So now, if Mr. Boyer there wanted to take that song and send it to SNT Radio through the Now Sound Worship program that you've got going, you want to explain to the people what takes place with all that, what you're doing with radio that's kind of transformational from where Christian radio has been?
Well, nowsoundworship.com/NSW. That is the private artist page and site that explains, exactly what we're doing. But basically, we're agreeing with independent, unsigned artists that if we accept their song and play it on the radio, we're going to pay them 22 times the going royalty rate every month to play their song. And in exchange for that, they're going to give us the right to sell their song online, and we'll split whatever proceeds from the sales revenues 50-50. And we put a lot of marketing muscle behind what we're doing. We've got developing 10 or 11 different internet platforms to put all of these independent songs, and we're talking about a chart that's going to be 40 or 50 songs deep, and we're going to be doing Now Sound Worship Christian radio in English and in Spanish. So I'm looking to work with about 100 different artists at any point in time. Half of them would be English language, half would be Spanish language, and we've got a Spanish language website called alabanzamusica.com that is, a praise name that is very common Spanish. That we're going to do the same thing. So all they have to do is go to nowsoundworship.com/NSW, and
right.
artists will be able to, get in touch with
you're
us
reaching
and
an audience.
see what we're doing.
Yes, I'm sorry. So the audience that you're reaching through research, demographics, however you figured it out, you found a way to reach a potential audience of about 20 million people.
20 million.
Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
And
like I said, we're using the full power of the internet here to get the word out.
What percentage of that? I think you're in an experimental time right now, or is that going full force?
We're in pre-launch mode right now. It's building a website that does everything that we're supposed to do, and laying all the groundwork is taking some time. Plus, we're even trying to reach out and get to know as many independent artists and hear their music, and it's quite a large undertaking. But with the proper hashtagging and all of the internet tricks and things that I know how to do, we will be able to reach 20 million adults. And
well, now I'm cutting it because we have just a short minute left here. But you also, if I understand right from what the info that I've received on you, that you would also help someone through your company. Let's say Tyler Garth recorded an album, CD, and I wanted to get it promoted online. Is that only done through SNT Radio in agreement with them, or do you also do separate internet marketing promotion for indie artists?
No, we work with independent artists. I'm currently working with a gentleman, Daryl John, who's from Galveston, Texas, and he's got a new album coming out, and there's 2 or 3 others in line behind him that we do complete marketing, everything from soup to nuts, social media, radio promotion, helping them get concerts and tours and house concerts and merchandise.
Tell them again.
9 yards.
Yeah. Tell our audience again where they can go to find out more about that. Give it to them one more time.
Okay. Well, you can go to nowsoundworship.com/NSW. That kind of explains it. That if you have questions about what we can do to help you with your music career, you can contact me at jameskburkhardt@gmail.com, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. We are in the process of launching a music career website.
Okay. I'm sorry to cut in because we've got to close this out, but James K. Burkhardt at
gmail.com.
At Gmail, okay. And Burkhardt, for our listeners, Burkhardt.
That is correct.
All right.
German
well,
spelling.
I want to thank you for being on the program with us today, and I'm sorry. I feel like I dragged my feet earlier in the interview. I wanted to get to some of this info that I think a lot of artists would be very interested in. We may have to ask you to come back on for another program. Hopefully you wouldn't be opposed to that, but I just want to thank you again, and enjoy sunny Florida. All right, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, Tyler.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, Today's Christian Music. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. For more information, you can email us at cwnnashville@gmail.com or visit our website at csminetwork.com.
You don't have to fear.